Our business is, at the end of the day, in the business of converting people from cash to electronic payments on the one hand, and then doing it in a safe, simple, smart way, right? So using technology and using data. So this whole conversion from cash to electronic, 85% of the world's retail transactions are still by cash and check. And that number is not just a high number for the emerging markets, it's actually relatively high even in parts of the developed world. Urbanization drives less cash. It's just the reality. Young people drive less cash. Globalization or travel or even regional systems where people feel like they're in a block where they can travel a great deal drives the usage of less cash and more electronic. So, inclusive growth drives less cash, more electronic. So all these trends we were just talking about are actually tailwinds in the process of moving from cash to electronic. Our single biggest contribution is taking cash out of the system. People think cash is free. Cash is not free. Cash costs between 0.5 to 1.5% of GDP for banks and the central bank of a country to print it, to secure it, to distribute it. It costs banks a great deal of money to collect it, bring it to vaults, put it into each bank vault, have two people count it on the way in, two people count it on the way out, two people count it when it goes to a teller, two people count it when it comes back from the teller. That's not very productive. Now, I'm not saying cash should be zero. I think you've got to respect people's needs for privacy and anonymity, and cash does facilitate that. And I think there's a balance. The balance should not be 85% of the world's retail transactions being cash. It also shouldn't be zero. Somewhere there is a balance. That balance is not where it is today. We help to change that. We do it with encouraging people who already are included to use more electronic forms of payment. But even more so, we're helping those who are excluded get a chance for self-respect, being included, being able to save, being able to get insurance, and being able to borrow at a reasonable price through our technology. Nobody gets up in the morning dying to make a payment for a cup of coffee. And no merchant, comes to their shop in the morning dying to accept a payment from you. They come because of other reasons. You get up in the morning to have a great day, to go out with your wife, to meet your friends, to go to college, to come to work, to design something new. The payment is just along the way. So it's before, during, and after. That's a deep realization that has informed our purpose. And so you'll find us doing things that cut beyond the payment, both before and after. Another angle that's very important is that there are 2 billion people in the world, adults in the world today, who do not have access to financial services of any type. So I think there's a lot of implications around inclusive growth that we are participating in. And we've expanded the purpose of our company to say, we're not just to the heart of commerce. We are in the business of trying to get rid of cash, and therefore impacting not just those who already have wealth or are electronically connected, but impacting the whole range of adults and consumers out there. I think that's the biggest change that's happened to us. Investments are going into 4 or 5 things. One is geographic expansion, because this middle class growth, this growth in the world's economies is not happening only in certain countries. It's broadening out, spreading out. Africa 10 years ago was not a continent that people talked about as being a driver of economic growth for the next 25. Today they do, even though the commodities-led growth of some of the African countries is going to have to change, and structural reform is going to have to happen. I'm not discounting any of that, but Africa is now firmly in the map as a real opportunity for a lot of companies. So we've expanded in Africa. It's not just India and China, it's also Africa that will make a difference 5-10 years down the road. So that's one example, and just one. But geographic expansion is one. The second one is technology and the investment in technology, and creating digital systems that go all the way through from consumer interaction to transaction approval and back again. And that requires an investment in back offices. It requires an investment in the way clients deal with you. It requires an investment in the way consumers deal with the phone, or tomorrow with their heartbeat as being the most distinctive predictor of their identity. The third thing you've got to do is invest in data. Now, the good news is we have a huge data warehouse, built relatively recently, built very well, but you've got to keep growing that, and you've got to keep growing your analytical capability of using that data. So that's a third big area of investment. Fourth big area, safety and security. If the world's going to be interconnected, Well, the thieves of the world are also going to head for those new highways. And those new highways are these data-driven interconnection highways. And you're going to need to have them protected, insulated, and capable of being recovered when bad things happen.